Hello, welcome. Welcome to week one, Accelerator Coaching. It's Jon Benson. I'm here with Travis Cody, one of our head copywriters, and I'm also here with Leanne Price, our head of Accelerator Support. Hey guys, you there? Am I coming in loud and clear?
Hey, John, sounds great.
Awesome. Travis, you with us? Sure you're with us here, Travis?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Okay, guys, well, we've got a lot of training to get to, and I'm going to start welcoming everyone here. There's a lot of people pouring in. And I'm going to share my screen to make sure that you guys can see everything that I can see. This going into oblivion. Here we go. So, my screen okay? Can you see it okay? Let's get some sound
Yep,
checks, and
looks good.
I'll ask. Cool. I'll ask the audience. I'll ask the audience at home. How are you guys seeing this? And is it coming through okay? Just say yes into the chat if you can see me, you can hear me, and Leanne, report back when we have an affirmative and we can get going on our week one coaching.
Awesome. We got Clemens, A+, Henry, Dan, nice and clear, Frank, Dan, Stewart. Yep,
Cool.
piling in now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this is week one, and this is probably, I think, my favorite week to teach. I'm not lying here when I say that. I'm actually going to be selling this particular form of training as an individual product. So you guys are lucky that you get it as part of being Accelerator customers because it is very valuable. And everyone that I know that has gone through this 5-step Pre-VSL checklist I'm going to share with you has profited in major ways. This is essentially what I want you to do before you ever write a word. Or if you've already started writing, that's okay too. You can go back and do this, and you'll just make everything a lot better. Now, I'm going to go over that today, and then I'm going to go briefly over what's called the hook formula. And I'm actually going to go over an abbreviated version of this. There's 2 versions that I teach. One is very long, and it's somewhat complex, to be honest with you, and one I made super simple. And I think it's going to really help you find a hook. If you don't have one already, a hook is so important for selling anything. Hooks, you can use hooks in obviously email, subject lines, headlines, video sales letters. You'll find this formula, I think, very valuable. So let's dive in and get started with the 5-step pre-VSL checklist. Now, by the way, I'm going to be taking questions at the end of tonight's interactive workshop, and also we're going to be taking some chat questions as we go along. We've got Travis, we've got Leanne standing by to take those questions as well. So just in case you are curious. Let me just say this before I get started with this 5-step checklist. This is not something that you're going to be able to do in an hour. This is something that's going to take you probably 5 to 7 days to do, not full 24-hour days, but working on it and getting responses back, etc. I'm just going to promise you that if you do this, I'd be shocked if you didn't double the amount of sales that you make from your VSL, because you're going to be given all the answers to the most pressing questions that your customer could possibly be asking. And wouldn't you love to know the exact words and phrases that they would use to ask those questions, and also know how much you should charge for your product, and what you should title your book, and what you should title your bonuses. So yeah, this is some cool stuff. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is a customer survey. So you can use SurveyMonkey, which is free. You can use any, I think they have a paid version too, but they have a free version. Use any online survey tool to survey your prospective buyers. Now, if you're a newbie just starting out, you can literally do this survey on Facebook. I mean, just on people that you know on Facebook. It's better if you have a list. I've known people to rent a list and do this, so they would rent and mail to, say, 5,000 people. It doesn't cost that much to rent a list. Some people won't rent a list that small. Some people will. For a couple $100, you can mail out to, say, 5,000 people once. Ask the following 5 questions, and make sure that the list, by the way, is segmented to your particular audience. So there's people that rent lists that are specific to every industry you can think of, or that have lists to that industry, like whether fitness, dating, finance, internet marketing, whatever. So if you have a list, that's even better. And you want to ask the 5 following questions on your survey. The very first one is, what is your most pressing concern when it comes to goal? And when I say goal, it means whatever you want, whatever solution you offer. If you offer a solution to retiring early, so what is the goal? What is your most pressing concern when it comes to retiring early? This is pretty simple, right? I do a lot of stuff in fitness. So what is your most pressing concern when it comes to weight loss? It's the phrasing most pressing concern that's going to get people's mind triggered to answer some questions that you're going to want to know the answers to. Now, bear in mind, this is not just an email. You want to use a tool like SurveyMonkey, and I'll tell you why here in a moment. You want to collect this data and use it. The second question is, what's the number one thing you want to know about weight loss? So now notice that what we're doing here, we're going from a concern, which is a fear, to what you want to know, which is your prefrontal cortex. Remember that stuff we talked about in the brain? If you've seen any of my workshops on this, you know that I talk about talking to 3 parts of the brain. And I essentially break that down into the very primitive brain, the amygdala. You can call it the limbic brain, the midbrain, and then you can call it the prefrontal cortex, your logical brain. So we're bouncing back and forth here. Amygdala is the concerns. Now obviously we're not getting into neuroscience here. There's lots of crossover, but we're speaking in broad strokes. But we're talking to the part of your brain that is fear-based, concern-based. What's the thing you fear the most? What's the number one thing you want to know? That's the prefrontal cortex. It's the knowledge section of your brain. And then what word or phrase would inspire you to buy a book about whatever your goal is if you saw that word or phrase on a cover? Now, it's those 3 questions in that sequence that really do some really cool stuff, because inspire is that's you're coming from more of an emotional center, that mid part of your brain. So I'm calling it the midbrain. It's actually not called the midbrain, but I'm going to call it that way just to do it, okay? So, but we're talking to 3 sides of the brain. We're talking 3 sections of the brain, and that's how we make decisions. So what we're doing is we're tapping into some really cool psychology to get some really awesome answers, and you're going to get them from all parts of your prospect's brain, which is really awesome. So that third question, what word or phrase would inspire you to buy a book about blank, whatever it may be, weight loss, retiring early, dating more, whatever it could be, if you saw that word or phrase on the cover? Now, obviously, what is this going to tell you? This is going to tell you what, no matter what you've got your book named, and by the way, if you don't have an ebook, you should have one, even if you do a service, even if you're B2B. I'm serious, ebook is something that everyone should have, because you can either give it away as a lead magnet, you can sell it as a tripwire, like a $7 tripwire, or you can sell it like I do, as that's a series of some of my main products. So, and it doesn't matter if you even don't have a book, if you have a video series or whatever, it's the question that's the most important. It doesn't matter if it's a book, like I said, or something else. It could be a supplement bottle, it could be anything. What would inspire you to buy? Like, if by the way, if you just sold supplements, you might say buy a supplement concerning X, if you just saw that word, or buy a video series. The point is you want them to tell you what to name your book or product. Let your customer tell you. And well, I'm going to show you how to collect all this data in a moment so that you can know exactly what to use. Find those key words. And I'm going to give you a little side story here. 2 friends of mine run an Amazon business where they do a lot of Kindle and Amazon stuff, and they choose book covers based on how many people click on the book covers, right? They do these book covers that are basically big graphics, and they could care less what the book is called. In fact, one of their techniques is to go and find a search term about whatever. If let's say that you're writing a book on dog training, you look at what's the most popular search term for dog training. Is it dog training, or is it housebreaking my pet? And if it's housebreaking my pet is the #1 search, then they call the book Housebreaking My Pet. Okay. Now this is a subtle genius here, right? Because you may think that's okay, housebreaking your pet. Let's say you called it housebreaking your pet. It's not a creative name, right? But what if the search term was something like make more money with clicks online today? Like some ridiculous thing like that. And that was the #1 term. That's what they would call the book. And then from there it'd just be design issues. So the reason why is because you already know these are the words that people are asking themselves when they type into Google. We're doing the same thing here. What would inspire you to buy a book, video, whatever, about goal if you saw it on the cover? And you want to make sure that's obviously on your cover or video or whatever. What would you have to see in order to know that you achieved your goal objectives? Now, notice that we're going to go from 2 different, these are called modalities. The 4th question is a sight modality. What would you have to see? That's something we are perceiving. It's very prefrontal. What do we see? I'll have to see this. Like, let's say it was weight loss. I'd have to see myself lose 20 pounds, see my waistline shrink by 4 inches. What would you have to see? But the final question is, what would it feel like to achieve your goal objectives? So that's how we go from seeing something, which is tangible, to feeling something, which is intangible. We're covering all the psychology, the deep psychology here, and we're in the middle of that. We're asking a question: what word or phrase would make you buy the book? The reason why it's broken up into those 5 specific that order, that's not accidental. Okay, that's not accidental. We're going like ping-ponging the brain a little bit. It's like pinging. Remember if you ping something from a computer from one terminal to another, we're pinging the brain, and then all of a sudden in the middle we're slipping in this. Oh, by the way, what would make you want to buy this? Oh, thanks for telling me that. Well, now you know exactly. You're going to get a ton of stuff from this survey. So the question is, what do you do with it? Okay, I'll tell you that here in a moment. The step 2 in your pre-step checklist is to go to your top 3 competitor websites. And you're going to want to analyze these websites. Now, analyze the video sales letters or sales pages, and now, avoid plagiarizing at all costs. I mean, that's the lowest rung on the marketing ladder. You don't want to go in that rung, and also it can get you in a lot of trouble. You don't want to do that. What you're looking for, though, are these keywords and phrases that are consistent across all 3 sites. And this is how you can do this, okay? You're probably saying, well, how on earth do I do that? Well, I've got it figured out for you. Hire a transcriptionist to transcribe it if it's a video sales letter. And if it's a written sales page, copy and paste it into Word. That's all you got to do. Just copy and paste. But if it's a video sales letter, it's worth having it transcribed. It might cost you $50. Hire one on Fiverr.com and transcribe it so that you can get it all into a Word document. Then the magic comes in. We're going to come back to this trick too. After this training session is done, Google word cloud. Don't do it now. And you'll find numerous free word cloud sites. Just there's several of them out there. They're free. You can paste gobs of text into them, right? And so all I want you to do is paste all of the copy for all 3 of those websites in at the same time, and you're going to look for the top 5 words and phrases. And they're going to come up in a cloud, so that you'll be able to see them like readily. It's just going to, most of you guys have seen, word clouds, but if you haven't, you'll figure it out very quickly. It's very easy. So you'll see what the top 5 words and phrases are that are used across your top 3 competitors' websites. Now, do you think that might give you a little insight on the words that you should be using to write those 500 words I've asked you to write for your video sales letter? Yeah, you should use those words a lot, right? You should use those words in the first 30 slides a lot, right? Because we already know that's working. This is why those sites are converting so well. These words are on that page. Now, extra credit, you don't have to do this. But everyone that does this will get infinitely better success when it comes down to writing stuff. If you really want to embed this stuff in your brain, handwrite, I'm not kidding, the sales copy for at least the top site. Like literally handwrite it out. This is an old copywriting trick that was passed on to me by John Carlton, passed on to him by, I think, a Gary Halbert, passed on to him by who knows who. But this is what professionals do. They will handwrite these letters. So they'll read the screen, they'll just handwrite them. And taking your hand and writing something on paper does something like a neural connection between the senses. It literally locks something into your brain. It's hard to describe why this works, but almost every successful copywriter I know has done this. Now, again, I'm not asking you to be a copywriter because you don't need to be. What I'm asking you, if you want to go the extra mile and see even greater success, is you can try this, and then you'll start thinking. Just watch what happens. You'll start thinking and acting and writing this way. It'll start coming out more and more naturally. So that is an extra credit step, but you got to do the first 2. Get it transcribed, or if it's if they're sales pages, like just written sales pages, just copy and paste. And then go into the word cloud. You're looking for these top 5 words, okay? So now, what do we do the rest of the stuff? Don't worry, we're going to come back to what you do to step 1 here in a moment. Hang on to that step 1, because you're going to have that data. And I'm going to give you a little bit of hint. It's the same trick, the word cloud trick, okay? But we're going to combine all this. Step number 3 is using this data. I want you to write 10 headlines, okay? Just write 10 headlines. Inside Accelerator, you'll find a video for my headline formula, and you can use those subject lines as a starting place. So some of the VSLs have no headlines. I'm not saying that you have to have a headline, but I want you to take the words that people have given you, the hot topic words, what a customer would want to see on a book cover, the top words and phrases from those sites, and come up with 10 variations of headlines. And you know what? If this makes you feel like, wow, this is a lot of work. John Carlton, the guy I just mentioned, would write 200 for a sales letter. He would just start blistering out headlines. And if you don't know how to do this, there's tons of stuff online. You can Google it, or you can just look at my headline formula just to give you an idea. So I just want you to start thinking in terms of how would I encapsulate all of these words and phrases now that I've got them kind of in a cloud into a sentence. One sentence that would make people go, oh, That sounds hot. That sounds really intriguing. I want to know more. Okay, then here's what you do. Survey. You want to ask that list that you emailed out to, or Facebook, or your best friends if you've got no other choice. Ask your potential customers, hopefully, to rank their interest in reading more about whatever you're writing about, whether it's finance, weight loss, how to raise kittens, whatever the case may be, given the subject line. So you're going to give them 10 subject lines and say, which one would you want to read the most? Now, it's so funny how few people do this. Copywriters, even pros, will write headlines for stuff, and they won't ask their potential buyers which one of these headlines is more appealing to you. Now, again, how would you do this? You would go back to SurveyMonkey. The same thing that SurveyMonkey, it's cheap or free, and you would send out a survey and say which of these 10 headlines appeals to you the most and why. I just appreciate your feedback. You would be surprised how many people will take their time out of their day and do this for absolutely nothing for you, and they will give you their feedback. And guess which one you should use? Do we even have to guess, right? Now, that's the survey way of doing this. If you're more advanced, you can do what we call a traffic test. You spend $50, $100, and test each subject line as a banner ad or a pay-per-click ad on Google and Facebook. And the one with the most clicks wins. Now, this is the one that we use all the time because surveys are great. They're not as accurate as the traffic test. So picture those 10 headlines, each of them in a banner showing up on Google. And maybe you spend $50 on each. You don't need a lot. I mean, we'll spend $500 on each because we want to get a lot of data. But let's say you spend $50 on each, and maybe you just test the top 3. You could do the survey and then go say, oh, I'm just going to test the top 3 and see which one of these gets the most clicks. And you can send the click anywhere. It doesn't even have to go to a sales page. You can go just to an article. It doesn't matter where it goes. You just want to see which one gets the most clicks. Then you know beyond a shadow of a doubt which headline is going to be the most successful above your video sales letter, and you're going to know what phrases are working the best to draw your readers' attention. That's going to work in your sales copy, in your emails. It's going to work for your video sales letters, and obviously it's going to work for titling any product, video series, book, whatever it may be. This is how you find stuff out beforehand. Okay, so step number 4 is you want to know how much people will pay for this, right? It's one thing to know what people want to respond to with words. Another thing to know how much they're willing to pay for it, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a synopsis of your product or service, and just do that by using, when you go through Accelerator, hopefully you've dug in, you got into the persuasion formula video tutorials, and just dig into it's right out of the story selling formula. Just go into that and go into, the USP factory, and go and check out the USP factory. Write a brief synopsis, a little longer than a USP, and then conduct one more survey on SurveyMonkey. This time, you want to ask your potential customers how much they would pay for a straight-to-the-point how-to blueprint to achieving goal, whatever the goal is. And that's the lingo that I use. This is straight-to-the-point how-to blueprint. It's not fluff. And the reason I use that is because when you come back and you say, I've got a 16-page book, a lot of people go, no one will ever buy a 16-page book. I have a friend of mine that sold a 2-page book. So that's not true. So because you want a straight-to-the-point how-to blueprint. And as long as the information is good, it could be 6 pages or 60 pages. It doesn't matter. How much would you pay for it? And if you do happen to have an idea for your bonuses, say, it also includes this, that, and the other. But you don't have to do that. So you're literally asking them to do this. Now, there's a trick to this. Leave the field blank and let them enter a price. Now, this is the coolest thing that I've learned when it comes down to getting how much you should charge for something. If you give people a multiple choice list, and the first one is $7.95, which one do you think they're going to pick? $19.95, $29.95. Most people will pick this first one simply because it's first. So you have to randomize it no matter what. But then I figured out, hey, leave the field blank and actually do the homework. Yes, it's a little bit of work that you have to do. You can pull it in a word cloud and find out how to do it right there. There's a word cloud device inside SurveyMonkey, by the way. We're going to go back to that first point in just a moment, and we'll talk about how to get that data. But so this is how you do it. Leave the field blank. Let them type in the price. Now, this is what's going to surprise you. The price, if you leave the field blank, is almost always higher than if you give them multiple choice. Almost always. So this is the real price that people will pay. And then simply take the most common price, and there you go. That's your price. That's the starting price for the point. Now, bear in mind that you still want to test prices when you go into the real world and do this, but you're probably not going to beat this. Especially if you have a pretty decent survey list. If your survey list is over 50 people, if it's into a couple hundred people, you're probably not going to beat that price. You already know this is what people think it was going to be worth. And the good news is if you do this, 9 times out of 10, the price is higher than you think. Well, not 9 times out of 10. I'd say 7 times out of 10 it's higher than what you think. So it's a good thing to do, just in case you're thinking, well, maybe I should sell it for, maybe it's not going to be worth more than $7, but people say, no, I'll pay 17 or 27. I mean, think about how much money you're leaving on the table. We did this once, and we were selling the book for $17, and everyone said 37. That was their $39.95. That was $39 was the average price. So we were leaving, quite a bit of money on the table, right? That's almost half. So there you go. So that's number 4. In 5, brainstorm bullets and benefits. Now, this step is also extra credit. You can literally just write this one off as extra credit if you want to. But if you do, you're going to find out that you're not going to write your VSL as easily, and I don't think it will be as successful. So you're going to find this incredibly helpful. So use the notes feature or any text editing document. You can use Word, doesn't matter. And here's what I want you to do. You just set a timer for 10 minutes. Clear yourself of every one of your distractions. Make sure there's no kids, no dogs, no pets, and no Facebook, no nothing. Do nothing for 10 minutes, but write down one benefit after another that your product or service provides your consumer. One benefit after the other. 10 minutes. Just dump your entire brain for 10 minutes. Okay? And then you're going to turn each one of these into a bullet by using my super bullet trick. And it's so freaking simple. So simple. All you need is called a descriptor word. So if one of your let's say, so one of your benefits is it's simple. Let's say it's just wrote down simple, okay? So simple would become deceptively simple. Now you can literally open a thesaurus up here and do this. You can look at you can look at descriptor terminology. You can Google this. It's easy to do. You don't have to be a copywriter. And also, Accelerator's got a long list of adjectives and adverbs that you can pick from inside. Just log in and there you go. So just go through that list and say, what would I put in front of simple? It doesn't. You don't have. I'm not asking you to be a copywriter. Deceptively simple. See, that becomes incredibly powerful. Just one word difference. Don't write copy. Just write one word. Because one word in front of that simple, fast, and just try to use words that are very interesting. So incredibly fast is used a lot. Deceptively fast or something like that is not as used as frequently, and that will stand out more in copy. So now those are the 5 steps, and you're going to watch this video tutorial several times. I know. Now I'm going to go back real quick here to the first step, that customer survey, and show you what to do with these questions. Once you get all of this, once you get the answer to all of this, inside SurveyMonkey, there is a word cloud device. Now you have to pay for that, but what you can do if you really don't want to do that is you can literally copy and paste all the answers and go right back to that Google word cloud and dump it in there. Okay? But here's the thing I want you to do. You want to do these one at a time because you want to have this data separate. The most pressing concern is going to be your fears. So you want to have just a note inside your Accelerator notepad, what are my customers' #1 fears? And just take the top 5. Because you're going to want to talk to those top 5 all the time. Throughout your entire writing process, you're going to want to talk to those top 5 fears. Doesn't that make sense? If you don't speak to those fears, you're not speaking to your customer. So number 2 is what those #1 thing you want to know. So where does that come in handy? It comes in handy in your tips. You've got avoid, enjoy, and how to. So if the one thing they want to know about is, let's say the most thing they want to know about in its a finance product is, what stocks to buy, that are under, $10. I'm making this up because I know nothing about the stock market. Then you're going to want to talk about, the very first promise you're going to have coming out of the gate within the first 30 seconds is, I'm going to tell you all about how to get stocks under $10. So why guess at this stuff, right? You let your audience tell you. This is actually I think one of the dirty secrets of professional copywriters is we ask better questions. That's really what we do. Now, a lot of marketers ask these questions after they already go to market, but they've spent a lot of money. I'm asking you to spend hardly anything and get it beforehand. The third thing is the word or phrase. You're obviously going to keep that in a separate thing. You're going to say, if you don't title your book or main product that, you certainly want to title one of your bonuses that. What would you like to see in order to know that your goal objectives? That's going to make all your promises. Here's what you're going to see once you put my product into place for you. You're going to see this, 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 and hopefully you've got like 5 to 10 things there that people will tell you. People will tell you things that will surprise you that they want to see, things that you would never think that they actually want to see. So this is why this is. Believe me, you'll get answers back. You go, really? I mean, consistent answers. Like it won't just be one person. It'll be like 5 people saying the same thing. It's like, wow, I had no idea. So, but now you do. And you can test this before it ever goes live. And then, of course, feeling is going to come in real handy when you're writing your story. Have you ever, because you're all through in Accelerator, you'll see all these things. It's like, this will make you feel like blank. Or have you ever felt like blank? Or when you're telling your story, you may want to tap into those feelings if you felt them yourself. For example, it's like if when you figured out your solution, what I call the Declaration of Independence, and now that I figured this out, I've decided to tell the whole world about it. And these days, instead of feeling so crappy, that's not how you'd say it, but instead of feeling like I did in that story, now I feel X, Y, Z. And those are the X, Y, Zs that were the top 3. If that's true for you. Obviously, it has to be true, but more than likely, it will be true for you. Now, what's really interesting is at least one of those will probably be one that you don't expect. And these are the differences between good video sales letters and great video sales letters, is knowing the words that you don't expect, because you're not a mind reader, but this these 5-step VSL checklist will make you one. Essentially will turn you into a pretty good mind reader. Okay? So those are the 5 steps. Customer survey, analyze the top 3 sites, again using word cloud. You're going to write 10 headlines. Please do this exercise. It's completely worth its weight in gold. Then survey your customers about the headlines or do a traffic test. You're going to survey your price points. And you're going to leave the field blank, right? Right. Say right if you get this. Leave the field blank. If this is, I've taught this tip before, and somebody said that was the greatest tip I've ever heard, or when it comes down to getting a price. Stupid little tips like this are actually just could blow things up for you. So leave the field blank, right? And then brainstorm bullets and benefits as a super bonus and use my super bullet trick. Do that. Please do that, because getting to this, again, I'm not asking you to be a copywriter. I'm asking you to write one word, one additional word, but that one additional word can make it go from blasé copy to copy that pops, and that's all you need to do. Okay, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to take questions about this at the end of the workshop. We're going to dive into the hook formula now. So please, I hope you took a lot of notes. If you didn't, please go back and watch this tutorial again. And let's dive into the hook formula. The hook formula is actually something that's going to be really cool for you guys, because this is what I've used for years as a thinking process whenever I get stuck on coming up with that one thing. Now let me tell you about the one thing before we dive into this. What you want to focus on is you want to focus on the idea that you should only be wanting to convince your customer or your potential customer of one new idea. One new idea. Everything else is centered around one new idea. Now let me tell you why this is so powerful. If you go to a website, and let's say that you're interested in cooking, and you go to a website, and the very first thing, the video comes on and goes, hey, my name's John, and I'm going to teach you 19 ways to fillet fish. Something on your, you could love cooking probably, like a ton, and something would still kind of gloss over, right? But let's say that I knew by doing these exercises that I knew, I know my target audience, I know what you're wanting. You want to learn how to fillet fish, for whatever reason that may be, okay? So I come on, and instead of saying, hi, I'm going to show you 19 ways to do this, I come on and say, hey, my name's John, and I'm going to reveal the #1 thing people do wrong when it comes down to filleting fish. And if you change this one thing, it's going to change the way you fillet fish forever. Now, I have no idea how to fillet fish, so everyone don't laugh, right? But do you see the difference there? I'm going to show you one trick, one thing. And you can use this in 18 different ways if you want. See, it's this, I'm basically saying the same thing, but I took those 19 tips that I would have normally shown you, and distilled like what is the one thing that makes all those tips kind of jive. And this is what you want to do for your VSL. You want to take your ideas, and the ideas, of course, that Accelerator is going to help you create. It's going to create most of them for you, and take it and think, what is the one idea? What makes my idea about whatever topic you're talking about, whatever you're selling? You could be selling leads. You could be doing nothing but getting lead generation. It doesn't matter. What's going to make the one thing that's going to make somebody give me that name and email address? What's the one unique thing that stands out? And you can trademark that name. I talk about trademarking a lot. I don't mean literally trademark the name. What I mean is you name something different that is actually something else. So, for example, counting calories could be you could change that to caloric staggering. Okay, that's my term for caloric staggering. Okay, rather than count calories, I stagger them. So these are ways that you can make people go, oh, I haven't heard this before. And this is the trick. You want to make your prospect go, I have not heard it in this way before. Not in a deceptive way, in a way that's like you just come up with a much more clever distinction on delivering this information to your prospect. And one way I do this when I get stuck is I go through this hook formula. So I'm going to window out of this really quickly and jump over here to this document. I'm going to blow this up so you can see it. And this is a PDF of hook formula. And Leanne, if you could just come on, make sure that you can still see my screen and make sure that we're all good and everybody's good. And everybody doing good? Just say yes if you're getting a lot out of this, by the way. Say yes, say yes. So say nice things so that we know that we're doing the right thing tonight.
You can see it just fine, John. Energy plus strength in the middle, and then everything else around it.
Awesome.
Looks good.
Awesome. So let me know if we're getting all those nice yeses while I take a sip here. Hopefully so. There's a slight delay in our broadcast, but my throat's loopering up now. Okay. How are we doing there, Leanne?
Yeah, yeses are coming in now. You get that 30-second delay.
Oh yeah, awesome. Well, I want to make sure that you guys are learning something here. You getting some aha moments? If you get aha moments, do me a favor, type into the chat box what your aha moment was during the 5-step Pre-VSL checklist. Something hopefully clicked for you, and we'll come back and read those later. Okay? Awesome.
Yeah, we got awesome glued to the screen.
Awesome. Cool. Well, type that in, and we'll come back to this here in a bit. We got a lot of people on the call tonight, so let's keep going here with Energy Plus drink sample. Okay. This is a very simple 4-question that dives into other questions. Way to approach a hook. Let's say that you were doing you have a product and it's an energy drink. It's just a generic energy drink. It doesn't even have a name. Energy Plus drink is what we'll call it, right? So here's what you want to ask yourself about your product or service. Ask yourself, what are the 3 primary benefits of my product or service? The 3 things it delivers my customer without fail. The top 3 things. Then you want to ask underneath that, what are my customers' 3 primary fears? Now, guess what? If you did the homework beforehand, do you see how easily this plays into each other? Yeah. It does, doesn't it? So, because the benefits are what people want to see and feel, right? And the fears are what is your most pressing concern. So you don't have to guess at this. I'm just going to show you how to use it into a hook. Now, the 3 on the left are when you want to get into stories and you want to create a hook around a story idea. You ask yourself, who are the 3 villains? In other words, if it's an energy drink, what are energy villains? What are some people or industries or cultural things that are tapping into our energy supply? And this is great for conspiracy theories. I put doctors, farmers, and government, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment, because those are actually 3 legitimate villains of energy. I'll explain exactly why, if you're curious. And then who are the 3 heroes? Like, who are the 3 role models for energy? I put Olympic athletes, teenagers because they have super energy, and the Energizer Bunny just for the fun of it. Okay, so I didn't even have to use any of the stuff on the left to get my hook. All I have to, that's great for stories. As you can tell, if you think about who's the top 3 villains, doesn't that all of a sudden, now you've got a nightmare story going on? Now you've got, oh, you know what, there's a conspiracy going on. Oh, you know what, there's a villain out there. It's not your fault that you have this. It's not at least entirely your fault. Your doctor may be giving you some really bad information when it comes down to your energy. So you see how this kind of starts writing itself. But for the hook, we're only going to concentrate on the right-hand side of the screen, the 3 primary benefits and the 3 primary fears. So I wrote down, if this energy drink makes you healthier, allows you to have more time with your family because you have more energy, and it allows exercise to be easier because you have more energy. Pretty simple, right? Not earth-shattering, and certainly not a hook. Okay? The hook comes from this question: if everyone, the question right to the right of the word healthier, more time with family, exercise made easier, if everyone, this stupid two-sentence question has made so many people more money, I can't even tell you, myself too, because it's one of those questions that gets your creative brain really thinking, okay? It takes your analytical brain out of the mix and taps into your creative brain. So if everyone on the planet was healthier, what would the world look like? If everyone on the planet was healthy, what would be the end of sickness? Okay? It'd be the end of sickness. So all of a sudden now, end of sickness sounds like a really potent hook, right? The end of sickness? That's pretty. Now, we've gone from energy drink to the end of sickness, and we only did it with 2 questions. And I'm just giving you the hint of what literally how much this can change the perspective of things. Okay, more time with family. If everyone had more time with family, what would that be like? Well, I actually didn't write this one. I actually did this in a lecture when I was giving it, and one of my students said, "Hey, it's like giving a happy pill to kids, you know." And so all of a sudden, wow, that would be a really great hook for an energy drink. It's like the happy pill for kids that they don't even take. The parents take it. And it's like giving a happy because you have more time, and the kids are really happy because you get to spend more time with them, which I thought was really clever. So, and if exercise was easier, if everyone thought exercise was easier, it'd kind of be like superheroes. You kind of have superhero ability to go to the gym. So this is how we come up with hooks, little phrases that you might want to use throughout your process. The 3 primary fears are, you're going to tap into obviously the more of the darker side of things, more of the things that people do fear, the amygdala side of the brain. So I put tired all the time, illness, people are afraid of getting ill, afraid of dying, and they're afraid of having their hobbies taken away from them because they don't have enough energy. And again, the same question: what if everyone was tired all the time? And the first thing it says is slow motion world. So slow motion world opens up a whole lot of really cool hook ideas, doesn't it? It's like, is your world in slow motion? It's just the slow motion world effect. I mean, you can just you could see the banner ads for this thing. Okay, then that just came from just saying what's one of the primary fears. The one that we actually used for an energy drink, this is for a real one, was one of the 3 primary fears. I'll show you how we used it. Illness and death was the fear, and if everyone was ill or dead, it would be Armageddon. It would be the end of the world, right? And so we put together death and Armageddon, or illness rather, and Armageddon. And what's another word for illness? Disease. And it became the Armageddon disease. And that became a hook. Now, if that's not clickbait material, meaning that people are going to click on that like crazy, and they did. Or the Armageddon disease. Can you imagine seeing that? This really on the banner ads. And then you can see it. Yeah, of course, it's frightening. It compels people, and a lot of people, especially in the West, are very captivated by religion, and this is something that's going to captivate a large percentage of the United States. Well, the Armageddon disease was everyone is dying slowly. Everybody's getting sicker, and their energy is going. And why? The cause of it is because they were lacking the nutrients that feed us energy. So this is how we developed that hook. It literally asked 2 questions. What's the primary fear? And what if everyone had it? And those 2 questions delivered the hook. Now this is the super simple version. There's a more complex version that I teach, and I may teach that later on. But this is the simple version. Hobbies ruined. What if everyone had that? Killer stress. If you had no hobbies, nothing but work all the time, what would your life? What would everyone in the world had that? The stress levels would be absolutely killer. So these are just ways to find ideas. If you'll just do this exercise, watch what comes to you. It'll come to you. It might even come to you while you're doing the exercise. It may come to you like while you're in the shower, or the next day, or while you're going to sleep at night, because your brain will start working on this stuff. Okay? Now I'm going to briefly cover the left-hand side, because you can put these together, and it comes out really cool. For example, the Armageddon disease, doctors don't want you to know about. Where did I get that? The Armageddon disease I got right here. Doctors I got right here. So you can put and play, literally just play these things like, dominoes. I mean, you could just, it's kind of fun. So you can just, mix and match and see what happens. So, and then I say, Armageddon disease, doctors don't know about. I mean, so at that point, that's a headline. So now we've gone from a hook to a headline. Remember when I asked you to write the 10 headlines? Well, after you do this exercise, it's going to be a lot easier, isn't it? Because they've got headlines written all over it. This is like a headline formula, too. So the three villains in this scenario, doctors, because most doctors don't know anything about nutrition. They don't need to study nutrition to have an MD. Farmers, and the reason I say farmers is because a lot of farmers have tilled soil so much that they've robbed a lot of our food of vitamins and minerals that used to be in the food. Not that all farmers are bad, they're not, but I'm just saying there's a lot of farmers that are in line with the third one, and this is where we got the conspiracy for the letter I just wrote about an energy drink. Okay, because it's a conspiracy that's actually real. Most people don't know this, but the government's been subsidizing grains for a long time, since World War I. And the government and big agriculture are they're in each other's pockets, obviously, because they're part of the same team. But here's what's very interesting. They're lobbying Washington, D.C., along with the pharmaceutical industry, to a tune that no one's ever seen before. And it's a cycle that we believe keeps people sick. They keep farming all these grains into people's diets. I mean, immense amount of grains, and most people don't need anywhere near that much, that much carbohydrate. But the farmers are growing this stuff, and they have to sell it off. The government has a stake in it, and now there's an actual government conspiracy saying we don't. There's a reason why people our healthcare costs are soaring, and the reason why the big pharma is a multi-trillion-dollar organization, because this is the theory that we're going in the letter. So that makes an intriguing story. And we got that story idea from this exact screen you're looking at right here. Just us writing in my head, it's actually me and just a small group of people, but just writing stuff down, and it came out like, oh, well, that's so. Then we just say, well, is there some truth to that? So I knew there was from the government angle because I'd studied it before, and then we put it together. So is the government creating Armageddon? Do you see how this is working? It's like, wow, you can get really out there. So we took an energy drink, and now we're talking about the government creating Armageddon. Now, talk about something that would drive clicks through the roof, right? So this is how this works. Now, on the more positive side, for people that want to be more positive, what are the heroes? Turn every kid into your little kid can now become an Olympic athlete of energy. But this is how these things work. This is how these work. Teenagers, is your teenager a superhero? Question mark. You see, I'm just putting these two together. And now I'm coming up with headlines, I'm coming up with subject lines, and all of this came from this one simple formula. So again, it's a very simple formula to get the hook. The hook is on the right side. On the left side, you get your headlines, okay? On the right side is your hook. Primary benefits, primary fears. If you do 10, you're going to get even better results. But I just picked 3 to make it easy. So your top 3 benefits, and then if everyone in the world had that. Those are the 2 questions, believe it or not, that can lead to the creation of hopefully a multi-million-dollar hook for you. So that is the week 1 tutorial. Hope that you guys are digging this. We're going to come back on and we're going to get some questions going on here. Leanne, are you with us?
I am with you. I was on mute. So
we're going to bring Travis on as well. Travis, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you. We're down with the state. Yeah, that's the first one I read. These things can get a lot of fun. So before I dive into the questions, let me just say we're not going to be able to get to everyone's question because there's just way too many people on the call. But we're going to get to as many as we can. So bear with us. A lot of questions were received beforehand as well. But Leanne and Travis will be answering questions as well on the chat. So we will do the best we can. Awesome. So I'm going to turn my screen back on. Excuse me 1 second, guys. I just realized I stopped sharing my screen. My bad. And come back over to the infinite, going into oblivion. All right. So let's go, guys. We're going to go into the I'm going to leave my screen on the hook formula. And you guys can write this down. And then we'll go back to any screen that needs to be going to. So, cool. Okay, Liam, let's take some questions.
all right, let me unmute. So we get a question from Peter. He asked, does the "it's not your fault" line still work, or has it become overplayed?
It still works. It still works because Yeah, because human psychology still works. So we still want to be told it's not your fault. Now, again, I use the phrase, and it's been stolen thousands of times, and it's been stolen both ethically and non-ethically thousands of times. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. So that was my turn of phrase to make, is not your fault still applicable. But this falls in line with the same kind of questions that we get all the time. Okay, video sales letters worked really well 5 years ago. Do they still work? I remember when I first came out with video sales letters, people were asking, and Ryan Dice made the comment that sales pages were dead because now there's this video sales letter. Sales pages never died. I never said that. They still work really, really well. I write them. I know they work really, really well. Video sales letters still work really, really well. The same things that worked 5 years ago work really, really well. It just, the reason why, so there's multiple reasons why. Is number one is that human psychology doesn't change that rapidly, and number two is you're constantly getting new people on the internet. So new buyers, same psychology. So yeah, but I do highly recommend that you do the accelerator version of, look, being overweight, it's not your, what I say is, look, this is not entirely your fault. Even using the word entirely makes it more truthful. So, because the truth of the matter is it is your fault on some level, right? But when I say it's entirely your responsibility, that really rings true, doesn't it? So when I say it's not entirely your fault, but now that you know what I've just told you, and I do this at the end, as you know, if you follow the accelerator tutorials, it's now your responsibility. You have the responsibility to take action now that you know the truth, now that you know the answers. You're without excuse. So that really does hit home for people. So good question. Okay, Leanne, next.
Alrighty, we got, let's see, both Brian and Larry at the same time. Where would you recommend I go to rent a mailing list? Any suggestions?
Yeah, you see, I'm trying to remember the name. Travis, do you know the name Brian's company? Brian Littman?
Yeah, I think it's dedicated lists.
Yeah,
dedicated emails.
Dedicated emails, I think. Google Brian Littman dedicated emails.
Yep, dedicatedemails.com.
Yeah,
you got it.
Okay. That's it. Yeah. So yeah, good friend of mine. I keep forgetting the name of his company, but other than that, we're friends. But yeah, he runs a legit. But I know that his is pretty high end, so I don't know the small size that he would rent. But they definitely do high end list stuff, and he would know who to go to for that if it's smaller stuff. So cool. Next question.
All right, we got Kevin. John, what are your thoughts on going to the sale immediately versus setting up the sale with pre-frame emails, videos before asking for the sale?
I think I need a little bit more data to answer that question. Are you talking about going for the sale immediately as opposed, like I'm going to assume that you're talking about like a product launch strategy, or you're getting traffic from Facebook and you're going into a product launch strategy versus going directly to the sales. Is that the question? If that is the question, we'll come back and answer that question because it's a really good one. And I've got a good answer for it, but I'm not sure that that's what you mean.
Okay, we've got a question from Amanda Rose, which I thought was a good question as well. John, what's a really good subject line to get them to open the survey email?
So this is interesting. You can take one word out of your survey and use a one-word subject line. So these are really hot right now. If you see all these subject lines from guys, and mainly us, fitness guys, you'll see like coffee or beans. They're getting really high open rates. Now I don't know how long that's going to last, but right now one-word open subject lines are getting high open rates. So that's an idea. So it could just be like if you're talking about dogs, it could be dogs. It's like, don't overthink this stuff, right? It's kind of cool when you underthink, and it works. So, but the other idea for subject line emails is you could literally say quiz : your most pressing concerns about blank, and that could be your very first thing, or quiz : the fastest way to succeed at X, whatever X is. And the term quiz, it's right now, again, this is kind of hot. Looking at quizzes and their effectiveness on Facebook, their effectiveness all over social media is something to really look at. So I like to mimic quizzes in email. So either one of those would work well. Okay, Leanne, did we get clarity on that other question, by the way?
I haven't yet, so we'll move on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, haven't forgotten you. Just I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question.
Let's see. Amanda Rose, again, love this training. Once we do the surveys and the hook, should we work on our product or the VSLs?
That's a great question. Okay, my personal recommendation is always to do the sales letter first. If you have that choice, to do the sales letter first. Now when I say this, some people freak out because a lot of people have their products are going, wait, I've already written my product. Well, that's fine. You know, most people have. Don't freak out. But if you write your sales letter first, which and Travis, you know this because you've done this many times. You know there are 3 products that I are about to come out with that I wrote the sales letter before the products were ever created.
Yep.
Yeah, and so why did I do that? Because first of all, there's a sense of freedom that comes when you're not constrained by the product itself. And second of all, whenever you're just writing what you know people need to hear, what you know they're going to respond to, and then when you do that, you know what you have to do in the product, right? You actually have to fulfill it. So I wrote these bullets. You know, I can't tell you what the product is, but I can tell you that the bullets were there was like 19 bullets for this thing, and bullets in a sales letter are just pinpoint slides that go really fast. And I wrote a lot of them, these very intriguing, like just high curiosity bullets. And so without having a product at all, in fact, I don't know anything about this product. Actually, I had to hire people to create the product, some pros, really good pros. And then I hired a ghostwriter to write it. Normally, I've written every book I've ever written for myself. But this is not for me. This is for somebody else. But so I had to hire a ghostwriter. And he literally said, I have no idea how to come up with this stuff with the bullets. I said, well, just research it. And so he had to do all this research to answer my bullets. And it made the book, or it's going to make the book, incredibly, and just so much better. So I never let this stand in the way. Gary Halbert was very passionate about writing your sales copy before you write your product because it will make the product better. And also, you'll answer all the concerns that your customer has before you ever have it. He would even go to the extent, and so I've known other marketers to do that, they would pre-sell things. So before the But if someone's, man, I'm not sure if you guys are fit for this because we're really looking for just the right people. But you might be. You might want to see if you qualify for this. But doesn't that just make you kind of want to go do it just to see if you qualify? So take that approach and see what happens. If you're running PPC already, then you'll be able to test it real quick. All right, we get time for one more question here, and hopefully you guys and hopefully we get lots of kind feedback that you can read off and you can tell me nice things, so, so we know we're doing the right thing.
Here's some warm and fuzzies.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, over that your last answer, John. They've been rolling in. So that last answer, Kevin's like, damn, John's good. Jeff, second Kevin's comment. Clemens, love that method. Amanda Rose, brilliance in action, love this. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is why these coaching calls are so valuable. It's because there's some things that no matter how good a program is, a product is, and I think that Accelerator is, I'd say it's the Lamborghini of the internet marketing world. I think it's definitely one of the top 3 products in history. There's no doubt about that from just a logistic point of view, but it's not just because of that. It's because we pour our heart and souls into this stuff, and we've done all the research behind it and have a huge track record. But even with all of that, the product eventually stops, right? You can only put in so much, and then other things come up, and other ideas come up, and you try other things, and you do this kind of stuff. And that's why coaching is so valuable. This is why I think this, we usually charge $9,000 to go through 6 weeks of coaching because you get so much feedback that you can use and new ideas that you can use, things that I wouldn't have thought of putting in Accelerator. I would have thought of saying that. So, oh, this would work for you. So this is why I'm so glad that you guys decided to join us today, and thank you for that, and hopefully you get a lot out of it. So, all right, Leanne, we got one more. Hopefully you're on mute again, aren't you?
No, I am scrolling because, let me see, I think you may have.
I think we sucked the audience dry of all their questions.
Yeah.
Well, you guys must have been chatting like crazy in the background because I know I saw a lot of those coming through. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for doing that, and thank you all for joining us so much. Really do appreciate it. And dive into Accelerator and definitely do your homework. This is homework. The 5 steps are homework, and I think you're going to get a lot out of this if you just go back and watch this video again. You'll get a replay link of this, and you definitely want to dive in and really study this stuff. If you'll do the homework, I promise you it will pay off. So thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you next week.